Hello everyone, this is Jimmy Cultist back again with another logic video, and today we're going to be talking about how to possess other puppets, as in you occupy a puppet and you transfer to another. I guess soul possession, body stealing, body snatching, not sure what to call it, but that's what we're covering today. And for the purposes of our little demonstration, I have created a ghost representing the soul of this man, I suppose. The ghost has very basic properties. It's just a puppet with the arms and legs removed, and the upper torso is a sculpt. I'm going to briefly turn on its power so we can see some things. I've turned off all the animations. I've left the procedurals active. And I've created a possession mode. I've also got this little thing where a timeline, as soon as this puppet is active, I've got this little timeline set to play once with a mover on it. Local space is what it's set to. I made it so the arrow is pointing up. If you want to tweak the direction the arrow moves, just do L1 and square. Speed 6.0, 100% movement strength. And all it does is make the ghost fly up in the air, because it's going to be emitted later, and I want it to sort of pop out of the body, as it were. But we might as well get down to the possession mode, which is what we're all really interested in. Over here you'll see the controller sensor. I've taken the triangle button and extended a wire from it inside this chip called Possess. And the wire from the triangle prompt goes into a node which has a NOT gate connected to the power. If you want to see how to connect things to the power of a node, I should say, just L1 and square will open up this little tweak menu where you can freely connect the wire from the NOT gate. And I'm going to put a little switch on here, which prevents me from pressing the button multiple times, prevents playback. And then I've connected the node to a timeline set to play once, which has the switch on it, and a little trigger zone set to detect a tag called Possess. And it's a cylindrical trigger zone around the ghost, like so. And this is the distance at which he will be able to possess an enemy. I've also got this little thing inside the controller logic. It's a tag called Ghost Gone. And basically what this is going to do is eliminate the ghost from existence as soon as he's possessed the puppet. So the tag Ghost Gone has an output. When a trigger zone set to detect a tag of a similar label, or the same label I should say, make sure to get the capitalization and spacing correct. But when a trigger zone interacts with this, it will set off this counter, which has a value, a maximum target value of 1. And when the counter is full, it will connect to a timeline set to play once. On this timeline is a simple destroyer, which will eliminate the ghost from existence. And that's pretty much all you need to know about the ghost's logic. There is another thing, I guess. Inside the controller sensor, you'll want to turn force possession on, so that as soon as the ghost appears and you've exited the body of another puppet, you're in the ghost. So, yeah, that's pretty much all we need to say about the ghost. Now let's go over here to our possessable enemy, as it were. He doesn't have any attack logic or anything. But to stand in for that, we're just going to put a chip called attack logic, and this would be all of his behaviors, his detection of the player, his multiple attacks, whatever else it is he has would be in there. And I would probably go ahead and put all of his animations into one chip, his jump animations. I've also got this switch hooked up to a node, and the node connects to his procedural animations, with which if you press L1 and square, you can see them in here, where it's connected. Then we'll go inside the controller logic, and that's where we have our possession logic, which you can see here. So what we've got is a chip called possession. Inside this chip, we have a tag called possess, which you may remember earlier from the ghost's logic. So when he's within range of this tag, and when the zone is triggering this tag, the output will set off this node with the NOT gate connected to the power. The node is connected to a timeline set to play once, just as before, to prevent playback. And it's going to cover the entire duration of the possession. I've also put a camera on here set to cut, and also hide imp and disable controls. Now this other camera is actually set to a transition type of smooth, 0.7. And this one as well, except it's 1.2, but still set to smooth, also still disabling controls and hiding the imp. And all it's going to do is give us a nice view of the possession while it's happening. It will also hide the imp from view in case you're one of those people who finds the imp immersion breaking. Since this camera will hide the imp, you won't see it come out and enter his body, so that's handy. There might actually be a setting in here that makes it so the imp doesn't appear, possibly. Possession visual hidden, you could turn that on as well, if you want that. And you'll see here that we've also got a trigger zone, which is quite wide, called Ghost Gone. It's a spherical thing. And basically all that's going to do is set off the logic I showed you earlier that destroys the ghosts after you're done with it. I've also got a little switch which connects to a selector here. And the selector's natural output, that being A, the default, will make it so that this character is unpossessable. And I've got it set to keyframe mode, and it's just a single frame put on loop. And basically what it does is if you press L1 and square, inside here you'll see this setting, possessable. We've set it to non-possessable. Just to prevent that from happening. You know, non-possessable until we activate B, in which case the puppet becomes possessable. Now you may want some kind of system when there's two of these guys close together to prevent you from possessing both of them at the same time. But that's a separate subject, which I won't be covering. I guess the easiest way would be to it would work on a similar method to how when you pick up items, if you've ever seen my video on how to pick up items, and to prevent you from picking up two items at once, two carryable items like two crates. It would probably be a similar system to that, but yes, that'll just have to do for now as an explanation. I've also got some animations of him getting possessed. Some basic keyframes set to linear blend. There's some empty keyframes to smooth out the animation at the end. I've also got this one keyframe that makes his eyes glow. Just a little effect. All you gotta do is press L1 and square if you scope in here, and you can turn up the glow. But that's pretty much it for his possession timeline and his possession state. There's also a little piece of logic over here, which I'll get to later. mainly because it's also inside our base protagonist puppet or whatever. Let's go ahead and take a look at what he's got. He's got similar properties to the enemy. Got a similar setup going on here with all his animations and procedurals being in one single chip. But what he has is when he dies, which by the way, I've set his health manager to a maximum health of 1.0, and his current health is 1.0. In case you're wondering how to reduce health with a health manager, I'll cover that real quick. You can't start with the maximum. If you want to reduce it, you have to start with the current health. Set it to 1, and then you can set the maximum to 1. Just thought I'd mention that real quick, in case you were wondering. It's going to make him nice and easy to kill when he collides with this hazard over here. But when he dies, I've disconnected the wire from no health that normally runs to die, and I've instead connected it to a counter, maximum target value of 1. The counter is connected to a timeline set to sustain. Inside this timeline, I have a basic animation, an action recorder set to keyframe mode, which is going to be him falling on the ground and being stuck there. You can kind of see how I've recorded it. I've basically recorded each and every limb position and duplicated it 3 times just to make it a little more smooth. And because our timeline is set to sustain, he'll be permanently stuck in this holding pattern of being on the floor. I've also got a little camera that's just above him here, and it also hides imps and disables controller input. It's set to smooth 0.4, so it's going to be fairly quick transition time. I've also got this action recorder. I only recorded 1 frame on it and set it to loop, and you can stretch out the duration by grabbing the end here with R2. And all it does is shut off his puppet interface, making it impossible for him to move. And it shuts off all his animations and procedural animations so that he will, fall down on the floor nice and smooth. No interruptions from the procedurals. I've also gone in here and made him non-possessable and turned off forced possession to reassure that you possess the ghost properly when it emerges. And speaking of how it emerges, I have a little emitter here, which I guess you could call ghost, because it emits a ghost. As you can see, I've selected the ghost, which is why its power is normally off. I only turned it on for demonstration purposes. And it emits right about here. It has a emitted lifetime of infinite, and it's max emitted once. That's the limitations of how many can come out at what time. So we won't get 2 of them by accident. Although setting it to emit once already probably will prevent it, but I like to hedge my bets. And if we go inside of our little emitter with L1 and square, you'll see this secondary setting. Object just emitted has a value, or an output, which I have connected to the depossess function on our controller sensor, right down there. So as soon as the ghost is emitted, we'll depossess the puppet just to reassure, that we're leaving this thing. Even though we've already turned off, the forced possession and other things, we want to make doubly sure that you're leaving it. And I've essentially just copied this same logic to this enemy over here. It's slightly more simplistic, but it's basically the same thing. No health goes to a node, connected to a counter, connected to a timeline, this time set to play once. It probably could be set to sustain. It's got a camera on it. It's got a little ghost emitter that basically does the same thing when this enemy is killed. It's got a basic animation. It's got something that turns off the procedural puppet, the puppet interface and the procedural animations. And it also turns off forced possession. We don't really have to turn off possessable mode. We don't have to change this thing because it's already connected to our possession chip earlier. All we're going to do is reset to output or input A, which you can do with this little switch here, which I've connected to depossess and input A on the timeline, setting him back to a non-possessable mode. But that's pretty much all the steps that we need to create our little scenario here. So let's go ahead and kill our fellow here. There he is, he's dead. Emitted a ghost. Now the ghost, I guess the labeling of the ghost might be important to mention. The ghost is labeled nothing. It has no label, which means it can't be damaged by these things, and it can also pass through most objects, except for things labeled scenery, which I've labeled everything in the scene as scenery except for the enemy and the man here, so the ghost can pass through all those things easily, but he won't go out of bounds. Now he could if you actually wanted him to, although he wouldn't adhere to the ground if you did that, but I don't know, there might be a way around it. If you labeled everything scenery and maybe labeled the ground something else, that could work. Let's go ahead and possess the enemy, which I made triangle the prompt to possess him. And there we go, we've possessed him, and we can control him and move him around. And we can also kill him just the way we did the other one. And we come out. One thing you might want to change, this is just a little detail, might want to turn off the sound effects, because Ghost doesn't really have sound effects when it lands on the ground. But just one more test, make sure it's all working properly. And there you go. That's how the mechanic would work. If you ever want to add this to your own game. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this was an insightful video or otherwise enjoyable. If it was, then go ahead and subscribe if you can, and hit the bell to keep up with our videos. Also, subscribed or not, give a like. If you have any questions or statements, leave a comment. We try to answer all comments. If you like what we do here and want to help out, consider becoming a channel member. Alternatively, you can check out the link in the description to support us through Patreon. Until next time, take it easy. That's all for now.